All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dawson County Board of Commissioners voting session. Today is Thursday, November the 5th, 2020. Welcome to the y'all who are in attendance, as well as those of you that are watching us online. We will start out with a roll call. And you can see that we're all present. Normally we do opening presentation in this slot, but we're going to move that down in the agenda, waiting on a couple people to arrive, so we will move that to a later time and in the agenda. So we'll move on to the invocation and pledge. So if you will, please stand. Would bow your heads, please. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another day, and we thank you for the many blessings of life. We ask that you would give us knowledge and wisdom to carry out the business of this great community. Anything that we accomplish will give you honor and glory, for it's in Christ's name we do ask and pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Does anyone have any announcements? As the county manager stated, the county offices will be closed next Wednesday for Veterans Day. So let's remember that as well.
Are there any services
David, do you
planned?
know? Okay.
Not an announcement, but I want to echo what our county manager said and just publicly thank Public Works and the Sheriff's Department and Fire and EMS for the many man hours over and above that they put in during the last storm. And it's a lot of times it's things that the community doesn't see, but when they leave their neighborhood and need to get to their office or get to the doctor or whatnot, and those roads are cleared, it's because these guys right here that lead a fine team of individuals in our community that really step out in the middle of the night and take care of that. So thank y'all publicly.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. First up, we have the minutes of the work session held on October 15th, 2020. Is there any additions or deletions? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Nix.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. Those are approved 4-0. Next up, we'll move on to the minutes of the voting session held on October 15th, 2020. Any additions or deletions? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And those are approved 4-0. We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Do have one change to the agenda, be item number 3 under new business. It's the EMPG grant that was discussed with us at our 4 o'clock work session by Chief Thompson. So that will be item number 3. So I'll take a motion to approve the agenda with that one change.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda as amended.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And the agenda is approved with the one change. No one signed up for public comment at this particular segment of our meeting.
No, sir.
So we'll move on to the public hearing. Before we get into this public hearing, I'll let the board, as well as the citizens that are present and listening online, that I'll be recusing myself from this particular hearing. A particular party on this road is attempting to sell their portion of this road, and the realty firm that is dealing with that actually holds my real estate license. Even though I have no part in this, I'm going to recuse myself, so there will be no impropriety even considered at that particular time. So at this time, I will turn over this public hearing to our Vice Chair, Commissioner Gaines.
Thank you, Chairman. Just to reiterate, this is a public hearing for the abandonment of Edna Noblin Road. I'm going to ask Roads Department Head David McKee to come up and give us the particulars about this. Once again, we did hear this in our work session a couple weeks ago, but just to refresh us on it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Edna Noblin Road,
go over a little bit of the history. It used to be a road that went all the way through. The development of Chestatee subdivision severed the road. It runs from State Route 400, goes back a short ways. Several property owners on both sides. Over the past several years, it has become a dumping ground. There is a right-in, right-out access point off of, off of State Route 400. I do want to take, so let me back up. So we've been approached some number of weeks ago about gating the road to stop the ability for folks to go down there and dump trash. As everybody is aware now, we can't gate a public road. The process to allow that would be to abandon it, and then the private property owners then could gate the road and to prevent the public from going back there to dump. To clear up a little bit of discussion, there has been a few questions raised about access, and there's some concerns by some of the property owners to the north, and I'll talk to that just 1 second. So the existing right-of-way that we show there is 60 feet. That right-of-way, it would stay as basically an ingress-egress easement. Ms. Davis and I were speaking, and I believe we'll have a resolution or something to that effect to have the board, should we move forward with the public hearing and should it be abandoned, we could have a resolution basically stating that the existing right-of-way would remain essentially an ingress-egress easement so that all of the property owners still have legal access to that. If they choose to gate that, then everybody would have to have, all the property owners, not everybody, all the property owners would have to have access to the lock or whatever that is. There was also a question raised about the DOT access. The DOT access stays with the access point. It doesn't stay with the county. That's not Dawson County's access point. That's the access point for that property. So that access stays. There was also some discussion about future development. If somebody was to develop that, then and any improvements would have to be made. It would have to follow our current development standards, regardless of whether it was a county road or a private road or anything like that. So essentially, if the board does elect to abandon this road following the hearing from the public, then the right-of-way would stay essentially as a private right-of-way, but an ingress-egress easement so that all parties there, if they wanted to sell back 5 or 6 acres of the 14 acres on the north side of that road, they could do so and their legal access would be there. So this would not landlock any portion of that property. And then lastly, we did state that there was a significant amount of trash and debris back there. At such time we can, if it is the board's decision to abandon it and allow it to be gated. Once we get to that point, then I would send a crew down there. We'd get all the trash up, all the tires, the debris, and get it cleaned up. So we're not turning over a mess to those private citizens.
Anybody have any questions for David?
I just clarify, I know he went over it, but if the board votes on it, we're not doing away, I mean, we're not tearing the road up. We're leaving the road there if it passes. The right of way is still there. The gate will be off on the other side of the right of way. But I mean, I know over the years, we've had a lot of dumping. When I was with Emergency Services and we did the tire ordinance, we were finding tires in there all the time, which creates a lot of stuff that Dr. Anderson went over with mosquitoes and everything else. The fire department would have access because if they put a gate up, they require a Knox box key. So everybody would still have access to the road.
Correct. And the gate would have to be outside of DOT right away because that right of way goes back roughly 105 feet from the edge of pavement.
Right.
Who's responsible?
Go ahead.
I just want to know
Same
who was
question.
paying for the gate. Is that,
Yes, that's my.
yeah,
second.
whose responsibility is it to construct the
It
gate?
would be the private property owner's responsibility.
And everybody on that road wants it closed.
Well, we're here.
We'll,
We're here for your
we'll know in a few
No.
minutes.
Yeah,
no.
we'll open the public hearing here in a moment.
public hearing.
David, so I'm looking at the map now. You have essentially a handful of properties that touch this. Really, one of them has a small piece that comes up on 400, but they'd still be able to access their piece on the backside just under as a private road if they so fit. And then under that private road, they would be required to maintain it at that point.
Yes.
Okay. And if it ever did get sold to developers or whatever it may be, that would be, I think you had indicated, whether we control it or not, it would still be up to the landowner to bring that up to county specifications.
Yeah, if it was commercially developed, for example, then it would have to be brought up by the developer, regardless of whether it was a county road or not, to our commercial standards. Yes, and regardless of public or private, the DOT is still going to have to permit any use change of their access point. So it doesn't change the process. It's irregardless of what the ownership is or the maintenance responsibility.
Any other questions?
Who instigated this? Was it the homeowners?
There's a couple property owners. I think they approached Commissioner Satterfield, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine.
Again, this is not the first time that it's come up in my tenure at the county. It's several years running now. This comes up, and it always comes up. We want to gate the road. Well, we can't gate a public road. That's where we always get a hang up. And this is the first time we've gotten the process to where we are today.
The viability of that road, historically, it was a major road that connected back to some of that Chestatee area, is my understanding historically, but it's since that time, it's been essentially just cut off.
Yeah, historically, it went all the way through to Dogwood.
Yeah.
And the Chestatee development, again, severed that, and it just goes back in dead ends now.
Okay.
Aren't there trees? There's trees back there, aren't there?
There is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a buffer between the end of the road and Chestatee. I suppose with the leaves off the trees, you can see the houses, but
I thought there's a lot of pine trees. It's been a while since I've been, but
Any other questions?
how long's this dumping been going on? How long? It's the nastiest mess.
I've been here 16 years and it's been a problem since I've been here.
What about that? Okay. I wonder what the attraction is down there.
Nothing.
It's a dead
There's
end
nothing
road.
there.
It's just what, cause it's there,
It's just vacant.
vacant? Okay.
Attractive
Well, they're not
nuisance.
having Bible study or prayer meeting down there. I can tell you that from what I saw. I didn't,
Any other questions? All right, David, we may have some for you later. So I'd like to go ahead and open this public hearing in regards to the abandonment of Edna Noblin Road. Is there anyone that'd like to speak in regards to that? Yes, sir. Please come up. If you would, state your name for the record and then sign. We should have a sheet up there that you can fill out for us.
is this far?
It's just public
Oh,
comment. So
okay, okay.
If I may.
Go ahead.
My name's Roy Roberts. I'm here with my brothers, Jim and Bob. We own 5 lots on the north side of Edna Noblin. We are particularly concerned about the change in character of the road because while we have it for sale as a whole, we also have it for sale as lots. Now, I, quite frankly, am no expert in county law but I did a little homework and I found what happens when you abandon a municipal road under, I think it was 3272 of the code. The municipality is then required to dispose of the property pursuant to 3274, which requires that it be sold. And that would disturb us greatly. I don't know, and I would
Sell the road?
sell the land that is the road. If it's abandoned, that is part of the
Never heard of that.
abandonment process. I would
I've
defer
never
to
heard that, but I
Ms.
don't know.
Davis.
Yeah, and I would suggest let's have the public hearing and then I'll be happy to entertain your questions and address that very issue. Thank you.
Because that would leave us with landlocked lots and disturb us. It would devalue our property significantly. We're not happy with the dumping there, but we have no control over it. We're not happy at the prospect that we are going to be called upon to build gates and assemblies to protect the road from criminal activity. We're not committing the criminal activity. But so at this point in time, we would thoroughly object to the abandonment of the road. And I thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here to speak in regards to? Yes, sir. Come on up if you would. Please state your name for the record and sign in for us.
Good afternoon. My name's David G. I live at 215 Henry Grady Highway. Lived there since 1978. And speaking of this road, this road is not the original road. That road was put in when they built 400 up through there in 1978, 79 timeframe. The original road was a little farther north up on top of the hill. George David owned all this property. They moved the road down to connect to the Ruth Wilson field and right at the edge of George David's property at the time. And that's how it became named Edna Noblin Road. That was part of George David's.
His mama.
Yes, that was his mother. So this is not the original road that went through there. It was a very small dirt road that went through there. All the original roads, if you can find the plats, this was just a little road off Auraria Road, a little small dirt road that back in time was a logging road, okay? But there was big main arteries that came through from over by David Evans Road. I think they renamed it to Dogwood Trail. There were several roads that went around. One went around, came out by the Woody Farm, or it's Leyland Anderson owns it now. When 400 cut all these little roads in two, the main dirt roads, and that road got put down there. But all we're asking is that we can put a gate up there to try to curb the activity. And I respect Mr. Roberts, you know, he has property there, and we're not trying to get it, you know, where he cannot access his property or do anything to be detrimental to his property. All we're asking is to try to restrict the access and stop all this foolishness back there. There's condoms, there's needles. State Patrol, I have talked to State Patrols. They go back there. I've asked them to sit back there. They've caught people with drugs out there, and they've dumped whole buildings out there, a little sheds. And you still see part of the remnants, the commodes. Somebody went out there and took the metal off the building and left all the rest laying out there. I guess they did it for scrap metal or something. But, you know, they dumped dead animals out there. And we own property on the other side on the south side of it. And we have some roads back through there, and our children ride back in there, but we have stopped them from riding unless some of us are with them because we're afraid we don't know what's going on out there. And my son-in-law's deer stand, somebody went in there and stole his deer stand. It was just below there. We've talked to DNR, Mr. Matt Johnson. He has put cameras up trying to curb this action. And we're not trying to deny these people. All we're asking is that you allow us to put a gate up. We will put the gate up. Anybody that needs a key can have it. If the fire department, if they want to put their box, you know, where they can have access to it. But we're not trying to take anything away from anyone. We're just trying to get it so they're not dumping on our property. And I've got pictures on my phone where we actually caught people backing in there with a dump trailer. Our only thing was we went in about 2 or 3 minutes too soon before they actually started dumping. And we couldn't prove, they said they were only turning around. And we had the law come down, and, you know, and the law said, you know, we didn't catch them doing anything other than turning around. They were not dumping. But I've got pictures where they were actually with a big load of pine logs and limbs where they're back in there to dump. They've dumped all kind of trash, decks off of homes and everything else like handyman work, all kind of tree trash. And, you know, we're just asking that we be allowed to put a gate up to curb this kind of activity. And we'll give Mr. Roberts keys for it. He can have access to it, whatever he needs to do. We're just trying to stop some of this illegal activity and the dumping and stuff. And I don't know how much, you know, I don't know how much he goes out there and looks at his property or checks on it, but their couches, tires, there's just all kind of trash and stuff out there. And people, like you say, they're not having Bible study out there. It's all kind of illegal activities. And we'd appreciate if we just get, his cooperation and just put a gate up just to keep people out. They can have keys for the locks or whatever they need to do. The fire department, whatever we have to do. We're just asking that you control it for us or help us control it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else here tonight to speak in regards to this public hearing? Seeing none, I will close this public hearing. I know we have a question on the floor regarding the legalities of it, so I'll turn it over to our attorney to speak to that.
Yes, Commissioner Gaines, members of the board, just as a starting matter, the statute provides a standard that must be determined and found for abandonment of a roadway. And what the statute says is that the Board of Commissioners must make a finding that the road has ceased to be used by the public to the extent that no substantial public purpose is served by it, or that its removal from the county road system is otherwise in the best public interest. So that's the statutory standards required to abandon. So in this case, it is being used by property owners there, and it's your determination whether that's substantial public purpose or whether the other criteria as to whether the removal from the county road system is in the best public interest. Once you make that finding, if you determine that you wish to vote to abandon the road, then as Mr. McKee alluded to, my recommendation would be that we adopt a resolution that specifies very clearly in writing what we're doing as opposed to a simple motion. And we can prepare that and bring it back for ratification at the next meeting. Other than that, with respect to the disposition of the property, Mr. McKee confirmed for me just before the meeting that the county does not have deeded right away, and that makes a difference in how you handle this. Instead, the county has prescriptive right-of-way. And so based upon that prescriptive right-of-way, the property would automatically revert to the abutting property owners. And consistent with what the gentleman said, it would revert to the adjoining property owner to the center line. Now, it does not mean that they have an ownership interest over the road such that they could close the road, because this has been accessed for these property owners along here for all these years. But it would give them opportunity to maintain it as a private road. And that's where the concept of a gate comes in. A gate could be placed there with the agreement of the property owners. And that would not be a responsibility of the county. Once the county abandons it, the county would not be involved at any point at that time.
Go ahead.
So as stated in the statute, but the county wouldn't have any right to acquire or take ownership of the land, right?
Not the land itself, unless there was an interest. I'm not sure exactly what your question is.
Well,
I mean,
the gentleman's question was, it would take his property away from him,
Yeah.
and we could sell it.
The road.
We can't sell it.
oh no, no, because when you abandon it, we would be giving up all
We're giving
rights
it
to the
back
road whatsoever, giving it back to the
the center
adjoining
line.
property owners,
To the
right?
center line.
To the center line. That's correct.
And if we do an ordinance, I guess we could state in the ordinance that all the owners would have access to that gate or road. Could we state that in ordinance?
Well, that's by operation of law, but we could certainly make that clear in our resolution is what I would propose, that we document it in a resolution.
Is there any, a number that defines what public is?
No, and that's a
Oh,
great question. I
okay.
mean, very often it's this similar situation where it's a road that's a dead end. And until fairly recently, although the older I get, the more this could have been 10 years ago, and it feels recent to me, they changed the statute. So the statute used to specifically only provide for abandonment if it was ceasing to be used for a substantial public purpose. And because so many of these little short dead end roads became a community hazard, a safety risk, just like has been described by the other public speaker, the statute was amended to include that second criteria so that the board could make a determination that the removal is in the best interest of the public. So that's why you have those two standards, cease to be used by the public or in the best interest generally of the public to remove it from the county road system.
And I guess Dave went over the, if somebody come in there and developed it, we could open it back up, take the road back if it was to our standards.
Well,
We will move
only
it.
then if all the property owners came forward, just like with any other private road. So then at that point, it would be out of our control to do. All the property owners would have to come forward and agree, or whatever process we have, which I think we've talked about this, but we don't have a formal process at this time for how the property owners would bring to us a substandard county road. But the policy of the county would be until it's brought up to standards, we would not accept it for paving and maintenance.
But if it was developed, they'd have to develop to our standards or DOT standards to go in
order for the county ever to take it
Right.
under our maintenance
Well, that's any
obligation.
road now, isn't it?
That's correct.
Any new road.
Commissioner, if I may, I think, are you referencing if it was developed as a subdivision, for example? Then yes, they would have to be developed following our subdivision regulations, the road bonded just as any other new subdivision, and then presented to the board, just like we've done before, for acceptance. And I think we're all saying the same thing. I just make clarification. You're talking about the subdivision regulations.
And the only other thing that I might mention, excuse me, Commissioner Satterfield, is we might need Jameson to weigh in on this, and I don't know exactly what's being proposed for development here, but there could be a limitation. Sometimes there's limitations for development or subdivision of property on a private road. And so I don't know if that would be in play here, if there's any limitation or prohibition.
Just zoning limitations.
Okay, so certain zoning classifications would not be available for property to be zoned on a private road. Is that correct? Is that what you mean? Come on forward then.
If they brought up standards, it would have done.
As far as subdividing the property along the road, it would just be subject to the zoning stipulations or the zoning of that particular property. We don't really have anything referencing in our land use resolution specifically to private roads.
Okay, so there's no prohibition. Okay, I've seen that in some counties, so I just wanted to confirm that.
And if it was sold, I think the gentleman said he's got it cut up into 5-acre tracts. I don't know how many total lots that is, but if it was sold, then they would be required to bring it up to county specifications, whether it's abandoned or not abandoned.
I would think so.
I think for clarification, I think you said there was 5 lots, correct? Yeah, 5 lots.
One in 5 acres, the other.
Okay, so not cut up into 5. Okay.
Right, there's 5 lots. So if 5 homes were developed, then that would mean a minor subdivision. And then they would have to meet all of the minor subdivision requirements if they were all 5 developed. If one is sold and they build a house on the 5-acre lot that he's speaking of, then, and as it is today, they wouldn't have to do anything to the road. And if, even if it's a private road, we could still permit that same house. They wouldn't have to do anything to the road. That property owner would have to be given access, which I think we will clarify if it's so desired in the resolution.
And I would venture to say if one of those parcels, you get some houses and some people living back there, that you could essentially move the gate back in order to prevent every access beyond that, and then, or
And I think just human activity daily would stop.
Mitigate that, yeah.
Mitigate the problem that we're discussing anyway.
Well, it seems like to me if the county went in there and cleaned up the mess and made it look good, and then put a lot of signage up, beware, cameras, everything, even ask the county to go maybe once a week and remove anything that gets taken out there, and talk to the sheriff's department to go back there and turn around and go on visits there. That might eliminate it, and we wouldn't have this issue of abandonment or these gentlemen over here that have that acreage, because that just seems like a big issue when they start selling that property.
Can I ask Mr. Roberts a question? Would I
Absolutely.
be it? Do you drive down Edna Noblin Road to get to your property? Because all I saw was trees.
There is nothing built on the property.
Oh.
My mother's purchased a 5-acre lot at the front prior to her demise.
Okay.
My brothers and I purchased 4 lots that are contiguous to that, but there's nothing distinguishing.
5 acres of just vacant land.
There's 5 acres of vacant land at the front, and then we have another, I believe, 6.7 following that have already been surveyed into lots and those type things from the person we purchased it from. And so we have offered it for sale. Either my mother has passed, so her 5 acres is part of her estate, which my brothers and I inherit. And so we've offered it for sale as either a contiguous piece of 11.6 acres, I believe it is, or as individual lots. Now, my real concern is she's talking about the property would return to the individual property owners to the center line. Well, that gives us half a road over which we have some control. We cannot compel the other side to grant us right of way to access back to our rear lots. It's his property and the county can't compel him. It's his property.
Well, and to that point, and I think as Mr. McKee mentioned as well, it has to stay open as access. We can't landlock, that would not be permitted. But the county at that point clearly would not be involved at all, and we could not compel. And I mean, if you're exactly correct that, you can't compel the property owners to work together. You can't compel them to decide where to put a gate, to agree upon how they're going to fund the gate. All of that would be us just, abandoning, stepping it out, and then leaving them to work it out. So, and that can be complicated sometimes.
I have driven back there. I've seen the debris and stuff that gets, and it's not pleasant. And I don't want my neighbor to have to live with it, but I don't want to lose thousands and thousands of dollars on a devaluation of property because of that. We bought the property as an investment. It's part of my retirement, and I'm getting old enough that I want to retire. And so a diminishing in value of it would be horrific to us. I did not know it was prescriptive easement, which means I did not know the legal ramification. But if that land goes back to the adjacent property owners, then we don't have a road anymore. And I can't compel the other side to give me a right of way, an easement to access those lots. And I suspect your zoning on building a house or a business there, a simple easement would not be adequate. They would require right of way for us to do that.
Is there no legal function for us not to go to the extent of abandoning the road? However, and I think McKee brought this up, we cannot gate a public access road, even though it's not in the best interest of the community.
Right. We could not put a gate or block it to the extent it's a county road. With that said, as Commissioner Nix mentioned, I mean, there could be some things we could do in terms of signage, in terms of having, requesting sheriff patrols or sheriff cars to be stationed. Commissioner Nix mentioned doing cleanup on a regular basis. That concerns me a little bit because to the extent this dumping may be on private property and not, on the county road, then that would be a gratuity and we would not be able to spend county funds to improve, private property that's not well kept, because we know we have those issues all over the county likely. So I wouldn't want to go that far, but we could certainly consider signage and consider the sheriff being more involved. Now, I don't know if that's ever been requested or done. I think that the gentleman mentioned maybe the sheriff has not been effective in participating, but I think with the request from the board, that might be a factor.
So that's so, and I mean, I wish that could work, but I'm a little skeptical. I mean, that's mighty intensive. I mean, the sheriff has so many places to see about, and that worries me. This is a pickle.
I
Did the
agree.
storm not knock down enough trees to prevent
There's
access?
some trees over now.
I got no problem with the tree accidentally falling because an axe hit it.
I wasn't suggesting that, sir. I was just asking if the storm. You can come on up.
I'd like to pose something to Mr. Roberts, and maybe we could work all this out. Would you agree to put a gate up and thus not abandon the road. But would you agree to allow us to put a gate up just so we can keep the people back from there? And you have the keys, whatever you need to do. If the gate needs to come down, you sell the property. I mean, we draw it up any way you want to, any kind of legal. That's all we're asking, just trying to restrict it. And I
got
know,
no problems with the gate.
well,
I have
evidently you do,
problems with
sir.
Loss of right of way. And the right of way belongs to the county, and we're forbidden to put a gate on the
That's
county.
That's the reason I just asked you, would you be in
Yeah, I don't think we can. I understand your point, but we legally can't. I just asked that if we
Yeah.
could do
Can't
that,
do that.
and I don't think that's
And
particularly not.
the other thing is, you know, my brother-in-law contacted the real estate company that has this a few years back and tried to work a deal out, trade them some land that was directly across 400 for this property so he could stop this dumping over there. And they wouldn't even talk with us about it. They had no intention. They said they had no intention of trading any property. They would sell it, but they asked a ridiculous price for it. And, you know, well, I'm sorry for that. That's your fault. But, you know, but we did offer him he offered him a good deal. The property that's across the road, across 400, actually probably better laying land than he's got there. But he was not willing to work with us then, just as now, you know, and I don't know how, I'm not trying to get into a little match here with him, but I don't know how often he comes there.
Well,
Do
let's,
you live in
Let's get back to Georgia.
let's get it back. Let's get it. Thank y'all for your
Okay.
comments. If you don't mind,
Yeah.
I have one other question for legal. If the abandonment of the road, if the two entities could work out where they would allow future, if it didn't go to the center, they work out their own situation outside of what we decide upon, where if it did sell, then they could have access to the full side of both sides of the road. If they could work that out amongst themselves and legally draw it up, does that, I mean, it sounds like there could be some give and take there to figure that out.
Well, certainly, I mean, if the private property owners wanted to work on a right-of-way access agreement between the property owners, just like any kind of easement agreement that may be utilized between property owners, and they can agree to that, and they want to bring it back to the board, and you're comfortable, everyone's happy, then you could proceed with abandonment if you want to, you know, send them off to work on that. That's something that we could certainly do. What I would not want to do is for you or your county council to pass upon that agreement that would be between the two private property owners. I mean, that would need to be them fulfilling their own personal interests without our involvement. But if they brought it to you, like sometimes will happen if we have, an issue with an acquisition of an easement or so what, if they bring something to us and say, look, we're happy with this now, please take the action the county's authorized to take, we could do that.
So this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that Mr. Roberts is okay with potentially putting the gate up as long as we don't lose at long-term ability to have access to that road, to sell it. Hang on, if you don't mind, to sell it because you're worried about losing the full center line of the road.
Not just that, I'm also worried about your zoning ordinances, which frequently require a very specific right of way for the construction of something down a roadway and not just an easement. I don't know your ordinances well enough to know whether that's an issue.
Do you want to speak to that, Jameson?
So I think if I'm getting everything correct, what we would require as far as anything to be developed, whether it be residential or commercial, done this, we would require a 30-foot easement toward, some sort of public right of way, down the road, essentially. I don't think we have any requirements for the easement to be brought up to public standards. But 30 feet is what we would require for any type of structure to be built down that road.
And that
There's so many
Angie, they could work that out amongst themselves with an easement, recorded easement.
Yes, I mean, I'm not that familiar with what would be required or even what this gentleman contemplates in terms of development. So I think we would need to be really careful making any representations right now that whatever might be done would allow him to develop his property as he would wish to do. I think that's getting beyond where we are tonight. Now, what we could certainly do is just take all this under advisement, ask the property owners to work together, talk to staff, and we could defer this to a future time. And I think that might be my recommendation at this point. If you're interested in trying to accommodate both issues and both individuals' concerns.
Okay.
Well,
Any
I
other
think we need
questions?
to. I mean, each side's got valid points. I mean, you and the money, and then you're worried your kids can't even ride. It's a safety. I mean, it's just nasty.
In response to what Ms. Hicks brought up about putting the signs up in the law, I have been in contact with State Patrol, Jody Caldwell, Travis Anderson. They stay out there a good bit. They go out there and patrol it. I've asked them to sit out there. I've asked the county law to sit out there. But they can't sit out there 24 hours a day. And all this stuff, they catch people out there doing drugs. They've told me they have. But they cannot control the dumping. People still go in. Matt Johnson with DNR, he has put cameras up trying to catch them. And he said he don't know how they know, but when the batteries, between the time he can get the batteries changed in the camera, that they will come in and dump. And we've tried everything we know humanly possible to try to curb it or help it.
A sign
And,
would
and
deter an honest person.
And a sign's not going to,
No.
and there's landfills within 3 miles, at least 3 different landfills, but they choose to come there and dump illegally.
At this point, it would be my recommendation to take advisement of council that we take this under consideration and gather some more details. But I would ask for a motion from the board.
And if we table, I think we need to table it, but I don't know how long it's going to take to come to resolution.
Well, we
There's so
could,
many.
yes, to your point, Commissioner Fawcett, we could simply table it without advancing it
date?
to a specific date. Exactly.
Okay, well, I
And
make a
then-
motion that we table it.
We have a motion from Commissioner Fawcett,
I'll second it.
a second from Commissioner Nix. Please vote. And the tabling has passed unanimously. And I will turn this back over very gladly to Chairman Thurman.
Thank you, sir, for an outstanding job. We will move on to new business at this particular time. New business is ZA 20-14 Miles, Hanford and Talent request to rezone tax map parcel 115001 from RA residential agriculture to CIR commercial industrial restricted for the purpose of constructing an office space with a warehouse on Carlisle Road. This was tabled on October the 15th, 2020 voting session, at which time we did already have a public hearing. So we will not have a public hearing in reference to this because we've already done that. It was tabled because the applicant was not present at that particular time to explain what they wanted to do here. You want to hear from Jameson, a little bit of update on this before we go to
I
ask
do.
the applicant? Jameson, if you would. Or Harmony, if you'd come
She did
forward.
the presentation.
She made the presentation the last time.
They call this the
She
encore.
won't.
They call this the encore.
She wants to come up, I can tell.
Yeah. So the applicant does still intend to develop approximately 94,000 square feet in office warehouse on the parcel. They're really just expanding on the existing zoning that's already on the parcel. The western portion is already zoned CIR. Then
Acres, 25, how many acres?
it's 15.027.
Okay.
We already have the parcel designated as CIR within future land use, and this is going to expand on an existing industrial portion of the county. So,
Questions for Harmony? Thank you, ma'am. We'll
Thank
take
you,
that
sir.
one later. Is the applicant present? Come on up and tell us what you desire to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Ethan Underwood, I apologize for not being here. I wish your meeting had gone as long last time because I was here at 6
You've been on
o'clock.
time.
You were fishing tonight? You was either on the golf course or fishing.
That's right, that's right. But no, I apologize. I just was not aware that the time bump. So in any case, we're excited about this project. We do have the actual clients who are going to be building here. They're happy to answer any questions. Light Fighter is a veteran-owned business that serves veterans, and this is a perfect location. They're excited about the positive business climate in Dawson County. As Harmony stated, the proposal is for office warehouses, and the only comments we got, we heard from one neighbor to the east of us, and they said that they just wanted to make sure that their buffer is going to be preserved. We presented that to the Planning Commission, and they asked for a condition for a 35-foot undisturbed buffer on the east side. We agreed to that, and they recommended that. So we're excited about it, and we have our whole team. Our engineers are here. We're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Chairman, I think one reason we told them, we wanted to make sure, because there were some stipulations, and wanted to make sure they were okay with the.
No objections from the Planning Commission. That's what we're referring to.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Ethan, could you read those stipulations? I don't think I have.
Let me see here.
I have it on the open.
Forgive me. Let's see, recommendation for approval is based on the following, which will not, I guess that's the A, B, C, and D that you all have. The only stipulation that came back was a 50-foot rear setback and a 35-foot undisturbed buffer along the eastern boundary.
And they're okay with that.
Yes.
And the eastern border backs up to Blue Ridge Overlook subdivision, I
Correct.
believe. And isn't there a creek or something down there anyways that you'll have to be back off of as well?
That's correct. I don't know if we got the site plan. Oh, I have the, there we go. It shows, you can see this, the creek that runs along the southeastern border of the property. So we're not asking for any variances. There'll be the stream buffer. So you have a 50-foot buffer on each side of that creek. So that's being preserved. That'll help protect the privacy of the neighbors as well.
Well, that's the requirement anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. But really, I mean, the additional stipulation is not, it's kind of mitigated because you're not going back behind there anyways on that far.
There's a very
Other than that
small.
upper corner.
Correct. There's two streams that intersect, and there's a little
Yeah.
bit of area that you could theoretically get into. There's
Yeah.
no intention to do that. So our client said, sure, no problem.
And to the north of you there's a newly constructed building, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, right there. Yep. Okay.
Other questions of the app?
Thank you.
What'd you say the total square footage of the building is? 94,000?
4,000.
Broken up or ability to be broken up?
Yes, sir. Yes. Light Fighter plans to use approximately a third of that, and they'll be able to lease out the remainder of it
Okay.
to other users.
And tell me about their business. What kind of traffic, what kind of egress do they have? I mean, is it trucks coming in and out of there or what's the? What do
Yes,
they do?
in fact, I'm happy to introduce Mr. Peter
Yeah,
Burks if
yeah,
you'd like to
that'd be
speak with him.
We like new good businesses coming into town.
Well, we'd like to be up here. I need to sign in.
No.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to be before you tonight. I apologize as well that we weren't here on the 15th, but I was on Facebook Live watching it. So
On the golf course, huh?
yeah.
Right.
So my name is Peter Burks. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Light Fighter Systems. We're a service disabled veteran-owned small business. I have with me Jonathan Turner. He is our Director of New Business and Business Development. And so we're a company that essentially sells to the U.S. Army. We sell to the National Guard. We sell to the Marine Corps and the Air Force, and anything to support our troops. And we also have commercial sales. So
warehousing, I mean, your distribution.
Yeah, distribution, and, we do some assembly in-house, so.
Okay. How many employees do you guys think you'll have up here?
So we outsource some of our assembly work to other states throughout the US.
Yeah.
Up here, we'll have 20 right out of the gate when we move up here. And over time, we plan to employ hopefully around 50 additional people. So there's some things we have to do there, but we like this area because of the opportunity we think we have to achieve that.
Sure. Excellent.
And the location you're coming from?
Roswell, Georgia. So we're Georgia folks.
Other questions?
That falls into 400 overlay guidelines, Jameson, when you get off of Facebook.
No, sir. This does not fall into the.
It doesn't. Okay.
The parcel just north of it is, I believe.
To the north of it.
But yes, it does not fall within the 400 border.
So then how is this
I'm
building going to
surprised.
look?
Oh, I know.
What's your construction type?
So, we're flexible. We want to put up a still building that's not a standard still building. This is going to be our headquarters for our organization. And so it's going to be something that we're proud of and, and something that's uniform throughout the additional buildings that we eventually put up. So I know that there's still a little work to do on that, and we haven't made any final decisions.
And that's the type of construction that's already over there.
Yeah. Yeah, you got the old 84 lumber building.
But
which
you
is
got
all
new, you
steel,
got a couple new ones back there that's still
Yep.
construction.
mesh.
That would be consistent with what is down
Right.
Successful.
Yeah. Okay.
But they could do whatever they wanted to. If they wanted to build something, as Judy said, we got to worry about what it looks like. They could do that. So there's no guidelines. I'm surprised.
We could add a stipulation that they just follow the 400 guidelines with equivalent to what's there. Couldn't we do that?
Well, I don't know what you're building really.
Well, I'd at
You've
least
not
like.
got it nailed down, have you?
Right. I'd like, we have some design ideas, but I'd like the opportunity to present those because we take a lot of pride in anything we do. And then especially how we present ourselves to the public.
Yes.
Because of what we do. So, we will have one of the nicest looking buildings in that area. That's our goal, and from our perspective. So I want the flexibility to at least present our ideas to the planning commission or whoever, that may be. And this will be our home. So.
I mean, they have to present them to Jameson's office anyway. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
As I stated before, we've already had the hearing on this, so what is the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve ZA 20-14.
Motion by Commissioner Nix for approval.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion.
Contrary to Underwood not being here last time, I'm fine to vote
We'll
now.
give you a break.
It may have costed, you never know,
I'm sure it did.
failure to appear. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote.
Mr. Chairman, the screen has locked up.
Oh,
All right, well, we'll do it by show of hands.
Wait, hold on, maybe. Okay, we got it.
All right, now you can vote. ZA 20-14 is approved 4-0. Thank you.
Welcome to Dawson County.
All right, we're going to go back up to the opening presentation before we move into new business. And tonight, we're going to be recognizing a gentleman who has done a whole lot in this community. Who has stepped up immensely in this COVID-19 pandemic season that we have been experiencing. He's done a lot of this on his own time, spent a lot of his own personnel and finances to make sure that the citizens of this community are safe. And he wanted to make sure that they're safe. And he took, like I said, his own time to make that happen. So I want to read a proclamation. The Dawson County Board of Commissioners in recognition of Dr. Larry Anderson. Whereas Dr. Larry Anderson has diligently served the citizens of Dawson County through personal, professional, and volunteer work for 15 years. And whereas Dr. Anderson has devoted his life to the medical community, first studying at the Kansas City University College of Osteopathic Medicine, followed by an internship at North Lake Regional Medical Center, started practicing in 1978 in Gwinnett County and moved to Dawsonville in 2005 and continues to practice at Anderson Family Medicine. And whereas Dr. Anderson and Reverend Dr. Mark Weaver started the Good Shepherd Clinic in 2009, Dr. Anderson served on the board for the Good Shepherd Clinic from 2009 through 2016 and still sees patients there every Thursday. And whereas Dr. Anderson has been commended by his colleagues, patients, and friends for his inspiration to us all with his limitless kindness and compassion, his dedication and commitment to the most vulnerable among us, and his tireless efforts on behalf of Anderson Family Medicine and the Good Shepherd Clinic, as well as his passion, philanthropy, and easy demeanor, which set a high bar for how to make the world a better place. And whereas it be it resolved that the Dawson County Board of Commissioners do hereby recognize the dedication and selfless service offered by Dr. Anderson and thanks him for his contributions to the county and his commitment to making our community an all-around better place for those who live in and visit here. Now, therefore, the Dawson County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim November the 5th, 2020 as Dr. Anderson Day. Pleasure of the board. I need a motion. Motion by Commissioner Gaines, seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Dr. Anderson, if you would come forward and accept this proclamation. And we also have a little memento for you here that says presented to Dr. Larry Anderson in recognition of the countless hours you have given to Dawson County and its citizens. We truly appreciate all your contributions. November the 5th, 2020. Sir, thank you for all that you do for our citizens. And he's my doctor as well, so he does a good job.
Can we get a picture 6 feet apart?
I gotta say something.
We had to fight the temptation to shake hands and I realized all these people are watching and we can't do that. I always have to set the example. Yeah, I am so very honored to receive this. I'm just so appreciative and so grateful, for this. But I certainly appreciate the trust and that you've had in me in appointing me to various offices, to the Board of Health, the Pandemic Committee, even back into the avian flu, and do that. So I've really enjoyed your support, and you've always done everything that I've asked for when it comes to the health of this community. But I'm very appreciative of my wife, who's over there, for her love, support, and tolerance, for doing this, and very appreciative to Northside Hospital for supporting me in the efforts to do this. So thank you so much. I'm so honored to receive this.
Jim, I'm gonna try to talk. But the man never says no when you ask him something. And I wouldn't be sitting here right now if he said no. And you saved my life. So thank you.
I can't top that, but I remember multiple years ago sitting in a meeting talking about the word pandemic, and I thought that this guy has gone off his rocker. And the foresight and the energy and the passion that you put into serving other human beings is unmatched in Dawson County. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to try to get a 6 foot apart picture.
I don't know.
Stand here, we'll stand up. No, we can come in there.
I don't know.
Y'all kind of
Stand out a little bit.
stay apart like you are now.
We can try it if you'd like.
I don't know if we should do this or
Go
not.
violate the rules. Go down there. stand somewhere over here. Slide on down there, separate out. Come down this way where you can be seen. Come down this way.
I actually had a 6-foot stick in my car.
He does?
So when I go
He didn't bring it today.
You probably hit him with it too, though.
No, he didn't bring it today. He normally does. And you? Get that?
Everybody. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for all you do.
I'd like to get
All right. We will move on to new business. First up, we have consideration of special event business license application Because Coffee event. Heard that a couple of weeks ago. Any other information needed? Motion?
Make a motion to approve special event license for Because Coffee.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0.
That takes place tomorrow, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it is tomorrow. Next up, we have consideration of board appointment, Planning Commission District 1 alternate, Seth Stowers. That appointment would be January 2021 through December 2021. Any other information needed? Motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. We move on to item number 3, which is the fiscal year 2021 EMPG grant, which is a 50/50 grant. It's one we apply for every year, used for our safety of our citizens. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion approved.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. No one signed up for public comment in this segment.
No, sir.
So that is all the business that we have for tonight. We are adjourned. Thank you for your attendance and thanks to those who are watching us online.
Make a motion, go into executive session.
Yeah, that's right. We do need to have an executive session, so I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. Motion
So
by
moved.
Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion? Be no vote coming out of this, council? No vote?
No, not.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that is approved 4-0 to go in executive session. We will take about a 5-minute break and then we will go into executive session. Thank you to everyone.